Hi guys, before we jump into this video, I wanted to mention that this is the breakfast portion of my 6-part series. And in my first video, I mentioned, about the benefits of eating paleo and healthy and about all the amazing bloggers that have given us recipes. This video I'm going to be doing breakfast, and I'll be doing lunch, dinner, snacks, dessert, and overall tips for people trying to eat healthy. So let's get on with the video. Hi guys, if you watched my last video, you can see all about how paleo and healthy eating is very important, and also that it may seem very difficult, but in reality there are plenty of bloggers that could possibly help you and plenty of easy and delicious recipes. So for this recipe, I am making a hash off of Paleo Running Mama's website. I'm going to link it down below so everyone can go check her out. She's a really good paleo blogger, and I think that her recipes are great. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so what we're going to need today, you are going to need 1/8 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1/2 teaspoon of sage, 1/4 teaspoon of thyme, 1/4 teaspoon of rosemary, a pinch of pepper, 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/8 teaspoon of allspice or cloves, and 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. Now you're also going to need some olive oil, coconut oil, and this is unflavored, but you can get whichever one you like. We just don't like the taste of coconut in all of our recipes, so we use unflavored. We have some Brussels sprouts. I kind of, did like about half a bag, but you can kind of do more or less depending on how much of it you want in your hash. I have a 1/4 cup of cranberries, 3/4 cup of pecans, 1 apple diced, and 1 sweet potato diced. And also, again, the size of these kind of goes off of whichever you'd like. But for me, I think that this just like bite size is good. Okay, so our first step is to mix all of our spices together. So I'm going to clear everything away and we'll get started. Okay, so I put all of these in separate bowls so we could see them, but now I'm just gonna mix them into this one. So I'm starting with my 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, and I'm just gonna mix the onion powder in there, my allspice, my pinch of black pepper, make sure I get it all, my rosemary, my thyme, my sage, and my nutmeg. Now all of these is very simple. They're just all gonna go in the same bowl, and I'm just gonna use a spoon. Normally I'd use like a little baby spoon, but we don't have any. I'm just gonna mix it all up. And that's pretty much it. You're gonna save this spice mixture and add it as you go through cooking your stuff, but it's like to prepare it in the beginning so you can keep adding it when you need it and you don't have to take the time to do that. So now, on to the actual recipe. Okay, so a quick side note is that we are going to be moving to the stove, and we are also going to be using the oven. So you're going to make sure you want to have a cookie sheet and a skillet and a top for your skillet. So, let's head over there. Okay, so we are over by the oven, and I preheated my oven to 425 degrees, and now I kind of forgot about it in the beginning, but that's okay. You'll just cook them a little bit longer if you need to. So first we're going to add our Brussels sprouts and just put them onto the pan. I've lined this cookie sheet with tin foil because I didn't want them to stick, and it also makes sure that I don't have to clean the pan if nothing goes wrong. And also I am going to take my olive oil, and I am going to do about 1.5 tablespoons of the olive oil, and I'm going to kind of drizzle that over them. Now I have a little bit of a light amount of Brussels sprouts today, but I was feeling more like I wanted it to be mainly sweet potato based, but again, that's up to you. And then I'm going to take 1 teaspoon of our spice mixture and kind of spread that along them. I'm trying not to put it in too big clumps because we don't want any of it to be too much. So now, after I've done that, I'm going to take this and I'm just going to mix them around, make sure everything is coated in the olive oil and also in the spice mixture, because we will also be putting more spice mixture into this later, but I want to make sure that it's all coated evenly now, so when it cooks, nothing is untouched. Okay, so now that this is done, I'm going to place this in the preheated oven for 15 minutes. Okay, so while those are cooking, you are going to first set an alarm. Alexa, set timer for 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
And next, after those 15 minutes go by, we will add our pecans. But before we do that, while those are baking, we are going to move to our stove. So here I have a skillet, and I put about a spoonful of coconut oil into this skillet. Now, we are going to put our sweet potatoes in this, but we also want to make sure that our skillet is well greased because we don't want anything to stick and we want everything to bake evenly. So this is also over medium heat, and now that my coconut oil is heated and all melted in. We're gonna dump our sweet potatoes in. And I'm gonna warn you, for a normal size skillet, you need a big one because this will eventually come out of the top a little bit. But I think that's what makes it so pretty. And I lost a sweet potato. So I'm also gonna do that. And then I'm going to, I just have some sea salt here. And I'm gonna sprinkle that in. I just did like a big pinch because we like things to be salty. And I'm just gonna kind of stir this around just a little bit. We don't need to do it a ton, you're gonna end up covering it. But we like to have it all nice and incorporated just like we did with the Brussels sprouts. Okay, so now that this is cooked, I am going to take this cover, and skillets don't normally come with covers, but I just found one that fit it, and I'm gonna put that on, and I'm going to set a timer for about 3 to 4 minutes. It depends how big you cut your sweet potatoes and how good your cast iron skillet is and how much your lid covers it, depending on how long you'll want to cook them until they get soft. Okay, so it's been about 2 minutes, and I think that you can kind of wait and you can kind of do this step as you see fit, but I'm gonna uncover and make sure you always use some sort of mitt because those get very hot. And I'm just gonna mix it around. Now we wanna prevent these from burning because that they're on the stove for so long and we're not mixing them, they can get a little brown but not be cooked inside. So we wanna like kind of stir them intermittently, but really that's up to you and however your potatoes are cooking. We're gonna recover them and then heat them until they're soft. Okay, so my potatoes are still in the works of being soft, but my Brussels sprouts are ready to come out of the oven. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab them out, make sure you use a mitt. Yeah, so see, so these are nice and toasty, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to add my pecans. And then I'm also going to add a little bit more salt. And I'm gonna take this and put it back into the oven for about 5 minutes. Okay, so on the other note, these sweet potatoes are now done. So now that these are done, I am going to add my apples. And you are gonna add your apples and cook them until the apples and the potatoes are a little bit more brown. So it's okay if they're not fully soft yet because they will be after like the 7 more minutes that we have them cooking. So I'm gonna do that. And then I am also, aside from the apples, I am also going to add a little bit more coconut oil because we need a little bit more cooking fat since we are adding more stuff to our pot. Now at this point things are going to start getting a little bit more full, so just be careful with your stirring. Really, you're going to probably get it all over your stove, but that's okay. You're just going to mix them all together and then cover it again for 5 more minutes. Okay, so this is where it kind of starts to get a little bit overwhelming because everything's kind of getting done at once and you want to make sure that you have all of your stuff not burning. So first I'm going to turn off my heat on my apples and potatoes because those are good to go. And I'm going to cover them. We'll just let those kind of sit for a second. And we are going to first take out our Brussels sprouts and pecans from the oven. Okay, so at this point these are nice and toasty and ready to be going in. So you're just going to spoon them in there. And you are trying, I like to spread them kind of all over because you're going to have to mix them in, and again this pot is very full, so it's better to try to spread them out so you have to do as little mixing as possible. And for me, sometimes the spatula is kind of hard to get everything, so just try your best, but no big deal, you can just dump it in later. My pan is just very hot, so I'm trying to be careful and not burn myself. But I will pick up those two. So now what we're going to do is we are also going to add the remaining part of our spice mixture and our cranberries. Now we will mix it up. Okay, so now that we have everything in, we're just going to start mixing, and this part is very If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below. This is number 2 of my 6-part video series, and one of the things I love about this is it gives me lots of carbohydrates, which gives me energy for the day. It's multi-purpose. You can eat it for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. You can combine it with eggs. You can combine it with anything you want, really, and it's delicious and gives you tons of energy and nutritious benefits. Thank you, Paleo Running Mama, for giving us this awesome recipe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.